So I just want to start off the podcast by saying I have Juan Soto news. I actually don't have Juan Soto news. I just wanted to get you for the hook there. I thought that was a better start than just angrily yelling at the Celtics for Saturday night's game. Scaz, how are you?
Jay Stu, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
You know, I would be doing so much better if this freaking team that is number 2 in the league in free throw percentage in the NBA, only trailing the Knicks. The Celtics make 80% of their free throws, and Tatum and Pritchard and Porzingis, who are good free throw shooters. Tatum and Pritchard went 1 of 2 late in the third, 1 of 2 late in the fourth, and Porzingis missed 2 late in the third quarter. Yelling and screaming about that, that's not the reason why the Celtics lost, but it just aggravates me so much when a team that prioritizes free throws, because I actually thought that they didn't get to the line as much. They're kind of middle of the pack in the NBA. But make your free throws. Make your free throws, and then you're not having to run these end-of-game plays. This is a Sean Grandy point, is that why don't we talk about things that happen in the middle of the game, because there are 100 plays in a game per offensive possession. So, the play that happens in the third quarter might not be as important as the play that happens in the fourth quarter. Okay, I'm talking about the third quarter and missed free throws. Are you happy, Sean? I'm not yelling at Sean. I was in the building on Saturday night for the Grizzlies game. Tremendous back-to-back, really great night of 2 great games with the Grizzlies, and they beat the Celtics, and the Celtics beating the Bucks, and we'll talk about both of those mainly on this focus. But that was my first anger point, was the missed free throws against Memphis from the third quarter, not the end of the game.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, and I'm glad you started with the free throws because they didn't shoot great from 3 Friday or Saturday night, but they got the result on Friday night because they hit their free throws. On Saturday, they went 19 of 28 as a team. That's 68% from the line. That's embarrassing. But on Friday night, they were 14 of 16. So they didn't go as much, but when they did, they scored. They made their free throws. So I think that's a really good point. Hit your free throws. I'm interested. You were there, the Jay Stu courtside experience. I'm excited to hear about it. But I think, the big takeaway was kind of how Taylor Jenkins coached against the Celtics, how he let Drew Holiday take shots and kind of let the Celtics decide what they wanted to do almost. So I'm interested to get your thoughts from being in the building. What was the vibe? What was it like? Were people like, please stop shooting at some point, Drew?
No, so I did not feel that way. I thought it was interesting in real time being like, Holiday's open a lot. Holiday's missing a lot. And, you don't, because you're in real time and you're just enjoying it. So I did not realize until I went back and I saw the box score, and I went back and I kind of skimmed through parts of the game from the TV broadcast, that Holiday was 4 of 17 from 3. And when I looked at the threes that he took, I think 12 of them were actually what I would call wide open. I don't know if statistically they're wide open, but just where he's standing there by himself, there was one point where he got it in front of the free throw line, took a dribble, took a step back, and then fired it up and rimmed it out. So the wide open threes for Holiday, that's the guy that you would do it for, I would think, because last year I think he shot 60% from the corner on threes. This year he's under 40%, and he might be under 30% at this point now. But that was once a shot. It's not a shot. I think it's because he's got a lingering leg issue. He missed a game. Was it Monday's game? He missed a game with a leg. Yes, it was, because I said, watch out for the Holiday injury on last week's episode. And then he's out Monday.
That was it. You were all over that one.
So if your legs aren't working properly, it doesn't work for your shot. It messes up your shot because you're unbalanced. Like, good shooters, they shoot from their legs up. At least that's how I understand it. Maybe some real NBA person will be like, no, you don't, you idiot. You never played the game. I got tons of YMCA time I got dirty pick and rolls on my resume. Okay. All right, brother. But that's my big takeaway. The free throws frustrated me. Memphis knew what was coming, Scaz. They knew exactly what was coming, and leaving Holiday open was part of the plan, in the same way that Golden State left Jaylen Brown open last year. And, there was a 50-point blowout because the Celtics didn't shoot 18 for 60 from three. Like, that's a big problem. And I didn't check to see how many of those were wide open shots, but Memphis kind of knew what was coming, and it's because Marcus Smart is there, right? But Memphis is long. They like to defend. I noticed a lot of activity with them moving the basketball around, moving without the basketball. They're
Very
a good
athletic.
team.
Yeah, very athletic team. They play defense. Not a lot of teams in the NBA play defense. The Grizzlies play defense.
They play defense, and one of the things too, one of my big takeaways from this game was Jaren Jackson Jr. Quite the player, quite the leader on the court. I thought that I caught him. So I was on the floor. I was in the corner where they bring out all the gimmicks, like Lucky. They bring out so I was across from the Memphis bench. And when I walked in and I saw the Celtics shooting towards my end zone to open up the game, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like this. Because usually the Celtics shoot towards Legends, towards the Budweiser, the Heineken Beer Club. They don't in the second half. The first half they're usually shooting towards what's it called? Towards Sean Grandy seats, section 20. The obstructed view seats, the media seats, right? The tunnel where they come out. They shoot in the first half in front of their bench. They shoot in the second half in front of the visitors' bench. That's usually how it goes. And when Memphis picked, because the visiting team picks which side you shoot on. When they picked the Celtics shoot the other way, where they're not used to, a little worried about that one. But it's that type of detail that Memphis and their staff pay attention to. Jaren Jackson Jr., I thought was just like the guy who's like, he's going to be the power forward defensive player of the year, which he was in 22, 23, I think it was. Rim running, shot blocking big. That's how I viewed him. Oh, no. I was so wrong. I noticed him being very vocal on the court. He's developed leadership skills. He's got a really nice offensive game. Like, he had a couple post moves. I'm like, oh, Kevin McHale's looking at this, be like, oh, if I could get my hands on this kid, I could make him so much better. But he's nice offensive game. Like Jaren Jackson Jr., good player. Good player. The Ja Morant, who I love, just, you have a player like that. You have two players like that. And then this Huff kid, I thought this was, who was the guy, the left-handed hitter for the Orioles who used to always kill the Red Sox, Adrian Huff? Or he played for the Giants. He lost his mind politically, I think, at one point.
Oh, Aubrey Huff, I believe.
Aubrey Huff, yeah. I was like, did he make a career? Because he was hitting threes. I'm like, who is this guy? Who's this Huff kid? But Memphis is a good team. They knew what was coming. It's probably because Marcus Smart was on the basketball team. He told them, what plays to call out, how to do this, that, and the other thing. Marcus Smart, great ovation from the crowd. 1 for 11 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3.
Classic Marcus Smart game.
Classic Marcus Smart game. Perfectly said. I did see at the end of the game, Marcus Smart did take some pictures with some fans. So that was cool to see. But, performance, like most of the Celtics fans have a high appreciation for Marcus Smart. I actually got into a little bit of a trash talking bit with somebody. I said the wrong thing about Marcus Smart. And the person retorted back, "Oh, I bet you don't have any vices." And I go, "No, I have plenty of them, one of which is whiskey, which I've had a lot of."
There you go. That's a good Saturday night out, Stu.
We're a little side, but Memphis kind of knew what was coming, and they're well coached, and they defend, and they took a chance on something. I know you have a thought on how Mazzulla handled it post game, which I'm fascinated. I was fascinated when I watched this press conference. Go ahead, Scaz.
Yeah, so I want to give Mazzulla credit because he acknowledged Taylor Jenkins in the Grizzlies game plan. I think a lot of coaches would kind of almost scoff at it or say, it's more about us. It's about what we do. We need to do what we do better. And Mazzulla straight up was like, I'm glad they threw that at us. We weren't ready for it, basically. We weren't expecting it. He didn't exactly say that, but that was, kind of what he was hinting at was they were like, okay, this is a look that we hadn't seen. Someone letting Drew Holiday, shoot that much was not something we ever anticipated. And, we do a lot of Joe Mazzulla praise on this podcast. I didn't think Joe Mazzulla had a very strong night on Saturday, and I think he almost admitted it himself post-game where he said, this is a learning experience. We talked about it with earlier games in the year. They're going through some things, and I thought this was, one of those times with the coaching staff where they got an opportunity to get a different look. Credit to the Grizzlies. They got the Celtics on, the second night of a back-to-back after maybe the most physical, playoff-like game they've had all season on Friday night, and I thought the Grizzlies had a great game plan. And the Celtics played, honestly, pretty poorly, and they lost by, 6 points or something? So I'm not going to, we're not going to – I know we have a show to do today. So the Celtics were not good. It was a bad performance, but fifth game in 7 nights, back-to-back. And the Grizzlies deserve credit. They're a good team. They wanted a shot at the defending champs, and I was impressed with Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah, he came out like a great coaching game plan. Players bought into it. Like, I thought it was just so well executed. And I promise you that they leaned on Marcus Smart for a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, thought I just muted myself for a second there.
It's okay. I do it all the time.
Yeah, I think Smart was, a huge part of it. Obviously not on the floor. I didn't think he played that great. But, I remember Paul Pierce's first game back in Boston. He couldn't hit a shot to save his life. So I think those are tough nights for those guys. But I want to know, like, did you see anything, Mazzulla-wise in-game coaching? Were you? I know you're there. You're trying to have a good time. But did you pick up on anything with Holiday? Did he get frustrated with his shooting? Like, one thing I thought Jalen was really good in this game. He was 10 of 14 or something like that.
5 turnovers.
So that's where I was going to go.
Yeah.
He had 5 turnovers, which is obviously a killer. And then I think that hurts his aggression as well because, he's not exactly the most efficient player at times, but he was last night. And then he gets those turnovers and he kind of just goes away from it almost. I would have liked to see him keep being aggressive offensively last night.
So I did notice at different points in the game that Jalen was open on the opposite side of the court and they were not going to him. I don't know if that was a design. I don't know if that was a concept or an action that they were running where he's a decoy and he needed a break or whatever. But Jalen had a couple sloppy passes, and that's where Memphis was anticipating things. I think they were anticipating things all night, and they jumped the gun on some things, or they moved where they thought the Celtics were going to be passing the ball too. Because, in football, Tom Brady used to throw to the spot and know that Edelman or Gronk or Welker or whoever, Troy Brown, was going to be there. That's kind of what these basketball teams, the good ones, the smart ones, they're doing now. They're passing into concepts, and if Memphis knows the concepts, then you're in trouble and you got to adjust. I did not notice. I felt like Mazzulla was off the bench more coaching. But I didn't notice any frustrations from Holiday. I noticed a lot of frustration from Jaylen Brown and a lot of frustration from the balding kid in the glasses with the Celtics jacket on, who was yelling at the refs all night because they were missing fouls on Jaylen Brown. And I could see it from the other side of the court that they missed a couple on him.
So what did you think of the refs? Do you think the refs had a bad night on Saturday night?
I think they had a bad night, and I love your echo sound effect.
I know. Where did that come from?
There it goes. Now
it's gone, right? All right. Yeah.
I was like, you're coming to me from the hopper. Like,
I don't know
when
what
did
that
you go
was.
into the men's room? Brilliant. I thought the refs had a bad night. I thought the refs had a really bad night.
So, we don't want to do conspiracy theories here, but I saw something, and
the refs had the points.
So it just it was one of those little things you see on Twitter, and you just kind of go, But Noah Dalzell, she does a great job. I think she's at SB Nation now, CLNS for a little bit. But she posted a video before the game where the Celtics are doing their pregame handshakes, all their rituals before the game, and they take forever. And apparently the Celtics have been given delay of game warnings for this in the past. This season, it's happened, I guess. Earlier this season, they've been given delay of game warnings for it. And apparently, last night, the refs they didn't give them a warning, I guess, but you could see in the video, the refs were like, let's go, like enough with the handshakes, enough with the intros, like the game needs to start pretty much. So I just kind of wonder if the Celtics are starting these games a little behind the 8 ball because they're pissing off the refs before the game even starts because they're doing, 8 minutes of intros. Very small thing, but, refs are human too. If someone aggravates me before I even start doing my job, I'm probably going to be a little agitated at my job. So just a thought. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Jay Stu, but something I saw this morning and kind of had a chuckle at.
It's interesting because I did feel like pregame was a little long, but it wasn't like it did. When you say it, it's like, yeah, it did feel kind of a little bit long, but I hadn't been noticing it. But the refs clearly hate Jason Tatum. They weren't big fans of Jaylen Brown last night on Saturday night, if you're listening to this on Monday. There were a few I thought shenanigans like calls. I think at one point I tweeted shenanigans last night.
I think you did.
I wasn't, and I was, I kept it profanity clean, but I had some good lines that I don't think I could repeat on the podcast.
I saw you calling for some replays at one point. I think I saw a video of you looking for a replay.
The ball that Scaz essentially saved Drew Carter's life on. That one I got up and I was a few drinks in and, I was trying to figure, this is the replay sign, right? It's not the home run sign.
Like, yeah, different sport. I think that's replay in basketball.
But it was like, as soon as like a Celtic player like went and called for the replay, I'm like, I don't care, like replay, go for it.
I like when I see the videos of courtside Stu. That's always nice to come across on the timeline.
The first down courtside Stu video got taken down for a copyright issue.
Oh, of course.
It was one of my favorite ones.
Oh, that's
so like, I'm small C concerned that Cleveland beat them last Sunday night, that Memphis beat them. But it's good. And this is what people need to kind of understand. And I know it's called the Green Teamers and we're supposed to be like pom-poms, yay, let's go. But you have to have some type of adversity to overcome because it makes you stronger. It makes you learn. One of the things, like I'm 43, I got more years behind me than I do in front of me. But one of the things that I see in younger people is the fear of taking a chance, failing, and learning from that failure. One of the best things that has ever happened to me in my own life is take a chance. Okay, can't do that. That's a fail. How do I learn from the failure? And that's what more people need to understand. It shouldn't be everybody gets a participation trophy. Were the Celtics going to go 82-0? No. Were they going to have the best record in the East? Yeah, I thought so. Now they're second, and Cleveland looks like they got it together, which I told you they might have had something together. We'll see if that holds up long term, but everybody's fine. Everybody's paying attention to the Cavs now. Whether that translates in the playoffs, because this is the green teamer part. I don't know how another NBA team beats the Celtics 4 games out of 7, right? And this is the problem that happened last year is how do you beat them 4 out of 7?
Teams couldn't beat them
hard.
Teams couldn't beat them 2 out of 7 last year. So yeah.
And here's what's happening. And I know this was in your notes, so I'm going to lead you into this, Scaz. Injury, minutes played. Porzingis has an ankle now. Tatum had when he came into the game at one point, he took like, I don't know if you're watching on the video, like I've got my hands separated, like the size of like a baseball or like a pitcher frame, size of a wrap. That's like 2-3 inches deep around his left knee. I think it was. Derek White dove on the floor, was down for a bit, was limping around. Horford doesn't play back-to-back. I saw him walking out of the building last night. He was either distracted or but he couldn't get out of the building fast enough. And he wasn't playing, so he doesn't have an obligation to hang around. So that's before somebody yells at me, I'm just saying, I saw Horford leave the building. as I was leaving the building, walking perfectly straight lines. But injuries, and I know you've got a point about, minutes played, and they've played a lot of basketball.
Yeah, when you say small C concern, I think I'm right there with you. I think this team is the best team in the NBA. I think it'll be very hard for anyone to beat them in 7 games. But with saying that, you have to take into account how much basketball this team has played. Guys like Tatum, Derek White, Drew Holiday, they've been playing year round. And I think you're seeing it a little bit with Holiday. He's older. His legs aren't what they used to be. You can tell on his jump shot. Stu's mentioned how he shot the other night multiple times. I think that's age. I think fatigue has something to do with it too. So I hope that they are managed, more this season. They have played an insane amount of basketball. Even a guy like Jaylen Brown, who, we all know didn't go to the Olympics. The Celtics have had deep playoff runs every single year, just about, and they're playing more minutes than anybody else in the NBA over the last few years. So I think it is something that they need to be aware of. I know Tatum and Brown are in their primes, and no one wants them to sit, and Tatum basically refuses to sit at times. But you saw what happened when he did. Mazzulla gave him that night off, and then you saw him against the Bucks on Friday night. He had maybe his best game of the year. He was flawless in the fourth quarter. He was, 14 points, 5 of 5 from the field in the fourth. So they're going to need rest at times, and it's not just Porzingis and Al. It's going to be everybody. Hauser's a little banged up now. That was the same ankle for Porzingis, like you mentioned. So that's something they have to monitor as well. He's just a guy that you're going to have to manage. Kristaps Porzingis is never going to be a guy that we don't worry about. You're always going to have to worry about Kristaps Porzingis. That's who he is, unfortunately. So small C concern. I'm right there with you. I thought the Grizzlies deserve credit. Celtics 5 game in 7 nights, but there are legitimate reasons to be small C concerned.
Concerned.
Injury and fatigue, I think, are right up there.
Yeah, and that's boring. That doesn't do anything for the podcast. That doesn't do anything for the talk show. That doesn't elicit emotion. That's just a fact of life, and that's why we put it, in the 20 minute marker there. The Bucks game. The Bucks game was as good a regular season NBA game as you'll see. It was once cliched that the sport is at its best when there is hate. There is hate between these two teams. There's hate between Giannis and Al Horford and Giannis and Jaylen Brown. And did Jaylen Brown get fined yet? Because I feel like another fine is coming for Jaylen Brown for the elbow. Oh, no, it was Giannis who elbowed Jaylen Brown. So there won't be a fine because Giannis doesn't. Giannis didn't have a foul in that game. That's amazing to me. With as much as he's around the basket, contesting shots, driving to the basket, 0 fouls for Giannis on Friday night in a Celtic win, mind you. Like, that one was unbelievable. But my favorite moment, and this might be a top moment in my basketball viewing life, top 3 at least. Like, it's in the conversation with the 2 championship games, right? And a few other things, but we'll say top 3 just for the sake of dramatic interest. Jaylen Brown telling Doc Rivers to shut up and then hitting a 3 as soon as he got the basketball and went down the court with it. Perfect. Great moment. Top 3 moment in my Celtics fandom, telling Doc Rivers to shut up. Like, Doc hasn't won jack bleep. He won 1, which makes that Celtics team the greatest team ever because they did something that no other team has been able to do, and that's win a championship with Doc Rivers as head coach.
Yeah, we've gotten a couple instances of players taking shots at coaches. Spoelstra and Pritchard were getting into it earlier in the week as well. So the Celtics, they're kind of going at the coaches lately. I love to see it. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. Whatever gets you into the game, I'm for. But my favorite sequence in that game had to be Giannis in the final 2 minutes because he was an abomination to basketball in the final 2 minutes. I saw Matt McCarthy on Saturday. I had to work the Bruins game, and he said he texted Felger on Friday night and just said, "What the hell is your guy doing?" basically. And that's how I felt because Giannis, unbelievable player, world-class player, he was boneheaded in the final 2 minutes. Pull-up 3 when he hadn't taken one all game. He, misses it. And then Al Horford comes down, Mr. All Reliable, and he buries one. So that was my highlight of the game on Friday night. I thought best Celtics game of the year. Tatum was flawless in the fourth quarter. Pritchard, though. What did you think of the goose egg for Peyton Pritchard on Friday night?
it didn't bother me. And here's why it didn't bother me. Because Peyton Pritchard's been on a hot run lately, and don't be surprised if he's the starting point guard for the Celtics next year. But he's been on such a hot streak, and Doc Rivers, his last few press conferences, has made it a point to target Peyton Pritchard. So he said this publicly that he's targeting Peyton Pritchard. So I so don't want to rant against Doc, but you're forcing me to do it, Scaz. This is your fault. This is your fault, Scaz, that I'm going to do this, okay? So Doc Rivers has been a coach in this league for so long. And Peyton Pritchard hits one of those half-court shots last year, whenever it was. And then Doc comes out after the game. It's like, oh, we just weren't ready for that. Like, I told them to be aware of it, but they weren't ready for it. And now he's gone out of his way to make sure that the Bucks, if they do nothing else, it's stop Peyton Pritchard so that Doc can get credit for getting a coaching decision right. Like, wow. Like, that's your big move, is you're going to put a goose egg on Peyton Pritchard. Like, that's your big coaching strategic move. Like, you know what? The sixth guy, the man who's going to win the sixth man of the year, Peyton Pritchard, we got to stop him. Forget the fact that Derek White can go for 6. Jason Tatum can go for 34. Holiday can go for 20. Jaylen Brown. Sam Hauser can go for 16. But you know what, Peyton Pritchard? We got to isolate him. We got to take him out of the game totally. We can't let him get anything. You know what? Let's throw 5 at him. And that didn't happen, but at least not that I saw. But, like, let's stop Peyton Pritchard. Like, and then the Bobos on ESPN are like, oh, Doc, you're so good. Give us another off-the-record quote. Give us another good interview. Oh, please. Oh, Doc, we love you. Oh. And there's some other gestures that I would make and innuendo that I would make, but that's inappropriate for family-friendly podcast-ish. But yeah, that was the big coaching thing, is like Doc Rivers took out Peyton Pritchard. Am I worried about it from a Celtics? No. Like, he wasn't going to average 20 in 17 consecutive games or whatever the Grandy stat was. He's had a good run. He's going to win 6th man of the year as long as he stays healthy and he keeps putting up that performance. And he'll probably be the starting point guard of the Celtics next year, which will drive Maz crazy.
I know you're big on that. We'll have to dig deeper into that as the season goes on.
I don't know what was worse. I have one more thought on the Bucks, Gaz, and that is about Damian Lillard. What an empty 31 he had. Like, I don't know what was worse. Was the lack of effort on the defensive end? I think it was when Tatum or Brown was driving at the end of the game. Or it was that brick with, I think it was under a minute left in the game, and he just, like, clanked it off the side of the rim. Like, I'm sure that I've seen more emptier 31 points, but, like, Lillard's impact on the game, like, does not do anything for me. Like, I will take Holiday and his 4 for 17 against Memphis, but because I know that when it comes playoff time and when it comes in a really big game, Holiday might not shoot the basketball well, but I know he's going to defend. And the examples are the Pacers series last year. And he can go for no points in the same way that Al Horford can have a 0-point night or have a 9-point night. And you're like, oh, yeah, there's Al Horford making an important play. Like, Horford's 3 at the end was the clinching shot against the Bucks in their win. And Al was just playing steady defense and pointing things out and calling coverages and just all the little things. Because you know why, Scaz? Al Horford is good.
Absolutely. I will say the one thing about the Bucks, though, is they look like a different team with Chris Middleton. He's legit. He's still got it. I know he's coming off his injury. It was his first game back, but he looked good, and I think he does bring the Bucks to a different level. I just don't think the supporting cast outside of those guys is enough. That they have AJ Green or whatever is
Gary Trent Jr.
Gary Trent Jr. shooting 3s. So I just think when it comes, down to it, I think they'll be in the playoffs. They'll be, a hard out for some teams, but I just think the Celtics talent is just too much for them because they're not deep enough. They're not deep enough, and I just don't know if Giannis and Dame actually know how to play basketball together.
I know
it's crazy to say, but you watch them and it's just they're not on the same page. You can tell they didn't practice all summer together, and I just don't know if that's gonna get any better because it hasn't seemed to this point.
This is something I was ranting about Anthony Edwards. And more and more that I really like dig in and pay attention to this stuff, and the more and more I gossip around the league about these types of things, and it's these details about, I don't know, that I I want to put a percentage on it, and I'm not sure. I might be shooting too high, but I feel like 80% of the league does not know how to play the game of basketball. And the Celtics have about 15% of the league that does know how to play the game. That's how I feel, Scaz, and it's an over exaggeration of the percentage for dramatic effect. But like, and I've got some Lakers things, and the text, Jay Stu's phone just got alerted because you alerted me something else. So there's some Lakers dirt coming relating to LeBron in a minute. But like, LeBron James knows how to play the game of basketball. Kyrie Irving knows how to play the game of basketball. I think Steph Curry knows how to play the game of basketball. You have a bunch of Celtics who know how to play the game of basketball. There's a lot of people in the league who don't know how to play and don't understand concepts and actions and constant movement. It's just like iso ball. It's like, now I know how Dame Lillard got all these points in Portland. He just dribbled the basketball into the ground and then hucked up a shot, and there's 30 points a night. Volume scoring. It's like, so I was fighting with Felger and Maz about Peyton Pritchard and how he's a starting player on a bottom 7 team in the NBA. Like, there's no doubt in my mind he's a potential all-star on that bottom 7 team because he's just going to be a volume scorer. He's going to be out there 35 minutes a night, and he's quick enough where he's going to put up numbers, and that's going to make him an all-star for a bad team.
Me and Joe had this argument last week. I don't know if he's an all-star on another team. I think Peyton Pritchard is very good. I think he will be Sixth Man of the Year. Only one Sixth Man of the Year in the history of the NBA has ever been an all-star, and it was Manu Ginobili, and that's a Hall of Famer. So to be an all-star at the guard position in the NBA is a different level. It just is. They are I would say they're the most elite position in the league just because of, kids want to be the point guard. So I'm a big Peyton Pritchard fan. Is he an all-star? I'm not quite sure of that yet. And Scal said it, so I don't want to agree with it anyways. So
I didn't know Scal said it. I take it all back. No, but the reality is, Scaz, I call it the Antoine Walker Hawks. Right? Antoine Walker, one of my favorite players. Walker Wiggle, whole 9 yards. He's a good player, right? He's an all-star player, but he goes to the Hawks, and now he's playing 40 minutes a night because he's the only guy that they got, and he's like a 25 and 15 guy. And I'm slightly exaggerating that, but like, because he's getting the basketball and he's just hogging the basketball. So he's a triple-double threat every night. Right. Yeah. So that's what Peyton Pritchard would be, is he would be a double threat every night on a lower tier NBA team where it's the regular season. They don't care. So this is kind of how we're going to do it. We're just going to let Peyton Pritchard go off and we're going to guard everybody else, except for Doc Rivers, who's like, nope, got to take Peyton Pritchard out. Got to do that. This guard isn't going to beat us, even though you've got Tatum and Brown and other all-stars, actual all-stars, but nope, got to take out Peyton Pritchard. Got to put a goose egg on Peyton Pritchard. He's a terrible coach.
I do think you bring up a good point that he's a guy that would show up every night and just play well, because that's what he does. And you mentioned those old Hawks teams, and that just makes me think of the first player I ever watched where I thought, this guy might be the most athletic player on the floor, but I'm not sure he knows how to play basketball. And that was Josh Smith for me growing up.
Oh, my.
An incredible athlete, a very good basketball player, but I don't know if he actually knew how to play basketball. So that's just a funny aside, because he is
Josh
a
Smith.
perfect example of what we were just talking about. Athletic freak, not sure he actually knew what he was doing half the time.
Josh Smith. Wow. Josh Smith. That was a high draft pick by the Hawks, too.
Yes, he was.
Josh Smith. Wow, what a name. Those Hawks were great NBA 2K team rebuilders.
Oh, yeah, you had like him and Jeff Teague down there, and a couple other guys, yeah.
Jeff Teague, wrestling guy.
Yeah, big wrestling guy.
I tried to connect with Jeff Teague on wrestling, and he wasn't interested, apparently. That's his loss. I have two. Do you have any other Celtic stuffs before any other Celtic stuff?
No, the Heat stink and the Pistons stink. Merrick Spoelstra, we'll see it maybe in the playoffs. Who knows?
I figured you had a rant in you about the Heat and Jimmy Butler. No? Okay.
No, they showed up like one night this week. Good for them.
Fair enough. So I couldn't find the actual video or audio of this. Did you see the quote that was floating around Twitter about Nikola Jokic being like, if we don't play better, we all deserve pay cuts? Was that real or was that fake?
So I believe it was real. I thought I saw it from a reputable source, but you never know these days. But yes, essentially he was like, in Serbia, if you aren't good at your job, they will dock your pay. And he's like, I think we could use some of that in the locker room. He's the only NBA player he's the only professional athlete maybe in the history of sports that's ever said, you can pay us less because we kind of suck right now. And Nikola Jokic said that after having 56 points and 16 rebounds in a loss. So Jason Tatum loses on Saturday night and has, 17 and 9, whatever it was. Jokic lost and he had 56 and 16. So for the Tatum MVP people, love you, mean it, as some would say, but it's Nikola Jokic's world at 56 and 16 and a loss. I'd be asking for my teammates to get paid less. I'd say pay me the money you're supposed to be paying them because at least I'm trying out here.
Yeah, it's also the other thing with Denver is their lack of interest in playing this season is pieces kept coming off of that team. And you're like, oh, well, you don't overpay to keep these guys. The Celtics just did it. And what brings to mind is I was listening to the Paul Pierce podcast today. And what got me, because I love Garnett and Pierce, and they're awesome on the NBA. It was just Pierce and somebody else, and I don't remember who the somebody else was. But what got me to watch was the title, like, why the big three were broken up. And I'm like, oh, Pierce has some stories. And he told some stories. But the one thing, he's like, it was as simple as Ray Allen went to Miami, right? He said, but the team, he took a shot at the team and ownership. He said, Tony Allen went and took less money. PJ Brown, they didn't want to pay. Ray Allen left because he wanted money. They all took less to go elsewhere. And he's like, why couldn't we pay them more than less to stay and then keep this thing going for another few years? And it's a great question. Yeah. So what happened? Ray Allen leaves and that's it? It's over? Like, yeah. You didn't have another move?
The only thing I'll say from that is maybe they learned their lesson, and that's why everybody got paid this offseason. So, fool me once, shame on you. Can't fool me again, basically. So, yeah, I hope that's kind of it. But I do think, the J. Stu, Peyton Pritchard starting point guard next year, there could be some moves in the offseason. But, yeah, that's a long ways away.
It is, and that's me projecting thing. I did want to close on a Lakers thing, and you sent me a story from Legion Hoops, and it reads the tweet reads, there's been chatter in NBA about LeBron James revisiting possible trade to the Warriors. Now, so I don't know. I feel like this would be you'll know this better than I would. I feel like this would be a Brian Windhorst thing where he probably at some point over the summer reported that the Warriors talked about acquiring LeBron James. I think I said that in real time, and if I didn't, I'll claim that I said it in real time before the trade deadline. LeBron's explored other teams and explored moving to a different team. I can tell you this. I know that the Lakers are snooping around on making different moves. Sorry, I'm scrolling through my phone here because this was something from. So I got this on somebody who was there. The Lakers, they lost to the Heat Miami, and it was because they cared about the party scene in Miami. The Lakers did. I think they lost by 40 points. They didn't care on defense, whole 9 yards. Redick let him hear it in the locker room. He did a press conference where he said the same thing, and LeBron's post game was about, did JJ talk? Yeah, whatever he said, I agree with 100%. And it's like, JJ and LeBron can be arrogant NBA people, and I get that, but they know basketball. They know how to do the right thing in the right moment. I don't. And my understanding too is that Redick is respected in that locker room. So for those people who are saying that JJ Redick's going to get fired, I don't think it's by LeBron James. If Redick isn't coaching the Lakers, it's because Redick's like, I can't deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. They're soft players. They're gutless. Those are quotes from my person. Said, don't be surprised. This is the hot topic right now is D'Angelo Russell. Who's Derek Russell?
Beats me.
There's a Derek Russell in the world that is now in my head, but D'Angelo Russell and a first for Colin Sexton is a hot topic right now. To which I was like, I guess he needs out of Utah after Will Hardy called a timeout as he was hitting the game-winning layup. This was from a week ago, so that kind of makes sense. Horrible play, something about something else in the NBA, and the LeBron thing. Don't worry, I was getting back to it. So you sent me the story right as we were hitting record, and I asked, I'm like, have you seen this report about LeBron and the Warriors? Any juice to it? Says LeBron's last year is likely going to be next season. He's going to announce it this offseason. It's 100% going to be with the Lakers unless he wants to go back to Cleveland for a farewell tour.
Interesting.
So it won't be, let's expand that out a little bit. The Lakers where are the Lakers right now in the standings, right? So the Lakers they're 12-11. They would be the 10 seed right now. Now, would the NBA want LeBron James to leave the Lakers? No. But I could see LeBron James leaving his kid and his coach behind because Cleveland is in first place. The East is a mess. LeBron has a clear path to the NBA Finals. Now, how do you make the math work on that? Got a cocktail napkin around here? I'd have to go to NBA Trade Machine and see what the math would be for it to actually work. You know what? Let's do that. Let's do that in real time, Scaz. What do you think? ESPN Trade Machine.
I think LeBron, if he really wants to go back to the finals, I think he has a better shot with Steph than he does with the Cavaliers, but that's just me.
So LeBron has a little blocker trade thing on him. But if you want to play it out, right? He's at 48 million. Darius Garland's at 36. So you just need to find a $12 million player. Oh, look at that. Max Strus, $15 million. That's 51.
Throw Bronny in there.
It works. It would work. If I could do it, that works. And then he gets his kid a ring. And poor JJ Redick is stuck with the Lakers.
I'd feel bad for Anthony Davis. He's having a pretty good year.
Yeah.
But I mean, they lost to the Hawks in overtime. It was either last night or 2 nights ago, and LeBron had 39, 11, and 10, and AD had 38, 10, and 8. So that's just, I mean, is it on LeBron?
Was that the one that LeBron took the boneheaded 30-foot 3-pointer that had no chance?
I think so. I watched very briefly the end of the game, but is the Lakers is that on LeBron for putting the team together and the team's just not good enough? Is it on the front office for not doing enough in the offseason? I think NBA fans want to blame LeBron. It's his team. He's in charge. I get that, but at some point, you're the Lakers. You can't rely on injury-riddled Anthony Davis and 38-year-old whatever he is. LeBron James. I mean, LeBron's still 39-point triple-double. That's nothing to sneeze at, but they just don't have a good roster. And I kind of feel like they're kind of like the Bucks in that way, where they have the top-tier talent, but the rest of the roster just isn't going to cut it when it comes to the playoffs.
Do you remember how the Rockets were built in prime James Harden years?
It was him. Was Eric Gordon down there?
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Like Kevin Martin or might have been there for a minute.
It was essentially a team of Harden's going to control the ball. he's going to make the first, second, third, and fourth reads, and he's either going to take the shot or he's going to dribble, penetrate, and kick out, and whoever's open, whether it be the two guys in the corner or the two, whatever. That's how they should have built the Lakers. And you just keep Anthony Davis in the dunker spot. Because either LeBron's going to drive and Davis is going to be in that dunker spot underneath the basket, and he's just going to find a way to get it to Davis, or he's going to kick to the corner, or he's going to throw it behind him for an open three. But again, you need to find the players that understand concepts of the league and what they're trying to do. And they don't have that. They're dumb, soft, let's go party in Miami team. Let's not even bother to show up.
No one is enjoying the Lakers' tough year more than one Cedric Maxwell. He is very much looking forward to seeing them in a couple weeks.
Yeah. But, according, LeBron's last year is probably next year, and it might be with the Lakers. It might not be. It might be with the Cavs. But things are always subject to change. I agree with you, Scaz. He would be a better fit going to the Warriors and playing it out with Steph. And Steve Kerr loves him.
Well, Draymond loves him more than anybody. So
here's the deal. Wiggins is at 20. So LeBron makes 48 for this season. He's got a little blocker on him that says no trades. So it's only with his consent. So maybe that's why it's there. But you put Wiggins at 26 with Melton at 12. You're at 38. Gary Payton's at 9. So those are your three players that go out for LeBron James, and you do it every time.
I think, for the league, it'd be exciting. I don't know how the rest of the Western Conference would feel about it, but as a Celtics fan, bring them on. I think I don't
think the league would want LeBron to want to leave the Lakers.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
So this was documented. Robert Kraft's on the record with this. Bill Parcells wrote in his book that when Bill Parcells wanted to leave leave New England, the NFL was not going to step in the way of it because they thought that Bill Parcells being the head coach of the Jets was good for the league. The same way the NBA didn't think the Chris Paul trade was fair to the rest of the league, so they blocked Chris Paul going to the Lakers. And I don't know that Chris Paul and Kobe Bryant would have been enough that year, but
Chris Paul is the Doc Rivers of point guards. He is one of the biggest jokers in the history of the sport of basketball. So I don't think that would have worked.
Almost a Celtic traded for Paul Pierce.
Oh.
That's it for me, Scaz. I think I've done enough damage in 48 minutes.
Yeah, beautiful, Stu. Anytime we get courtside Stu, firsthand, stories. That's what I'm here for. So yeah, another, good week of Celtics basketball. 3-1, right? 3 good wins and 1 bad loss. So we'll freak out about it, but we'll talk again next Sunday, and I'm sure we'll hopefully have less injuries to talk about. But yeah, I think this is the Christmas stretch is coming up, so we'll see. We'll see what they look like.
Yep. Egomaniac courtside Stu. It can be pretty or it can be ugly. I don't think the refs like me very much. Like they hate the Celtics. Scaz is right. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy your basketball viewing this week. All right. Yeah. How do I say goodbye? Oh, I just say goodbye and hit stop.